how would you like to achieve your first million? And today we have Rhonda with us, which is an author, an entrepreneur, and academic researcher. So Rhonda, tell us, what are the 5 steps to make your first million?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
The first thing is be self-aware. The first step of any entrepreneur is to know what's around you. If you don't know what's around you, you don't know what your mission is, you don't know what your vision is, and you don't know what your people are, you're in trouble. So the first step is self-awareness. Make sure you reflect on everything. Step 2, have some self-regulation. My goodness, you can't leave for every golf outing. You can't hide behind your desk on every stressful event. You can't go to every party. And guess what? You can't work till midnight every night either, because you'll burn yourself out. So self-regulation is a must. If you don't have self-regulation, how are you going to function? Make sure, step 1, that you have self-awareness, that you're scanning at all times, internally and externally. My father always told us, as an entrepreneur, you should get in your car and drive around the parking lots. What in the world is going out the back door or in the mail that you don't know about? Step 2, again, self-regulation. Make sure you know what you're doing, what everybody else is doing, but don't run from and avoid all the stressful events. Step 3, be motivated. If you're not committed to the mission and the vision, nobody else will be. What in the world? You're expecting your vendors to be as motivated about your company as you. You're expecting your employees to. You're expecting everybody to be motivated, inspired, and align themselves to a mission. Have you done that? Have you been motivated to self and your organization to be the best version of yourself? Step 4, empathy. Everybody has life hit. If you're one of those leaders that goes out there and you don't pay attention when someone's down, when someone's got something going on, what about the employee that you see that their car is falling apart as they barely make it to work? What about the person who's had a death in their family or their spouse is ill? Are you considering this? What about the one in your team that's in a domestic violent relationship? You have a responsibility to keep not only them safe while they're there, but your employees safe. Are you practicing empathy? Do you have that social responsibility for the people that you touch? And it could be an organization that's next to you. And lastly, number 5, what are you doing to improve your social skills? Don't insult the people that work for you. Don't forget about your loved ones while you're working. Social skills and networks builds the relationships and that make not only you stronger as an individual, but your organization stronger. How could you function without those 5 steps? Self-awareness. Number 1, are you aware of everything around you? Step 2, self-regulation. Are you regulating your moods, your abilities, etc.? Step 3, motivation. Are you aligned with your mission and the mission of your organization? Step 4, empathy. Are you practicing it? Don't forget the importance of being a human being. Human being, not a human doing all the time. And step 5, social skills. Just like we're networking right here on your wonderful time. We have to do it. You are meant to be social. We're meant to network. We're meant to make all these wonderful things happen for ourselves and others. So let's do it together.
So, Rhonda, I'm glad that you're touching this, and I want to expand a little bit more on that because um, for over 500 multimillionaires that we already interview in this podcast, sometimes when I ask them if you had to start all over again, what would be the place that you will put more emphasis? Yeah, and especially
Mhm.
tech entrepreneurs, they all coming back and telling me the same answer. They tell me, Harry, culture. If I knew that this business is gonna take me 100 times harder than what I thought and longer than what I thought to make it work, I will put more attention in my team. I will put
Mhm.
more attention in my co-founders. I will put more attention in growing this team. And what I mean by putting more attention is exactly, Rhonda, what you're describing about having these relationships with the team, with the people that hand to hand building a company with you, are how you look at your team, and you need to look a lot of problems that we see in companies, is that we see males, white founders, but then when
Mhm.
you look at the clients, the clients are men, women, Chinese, black. So how do you think that the clients they're not gonna be reflected into the culture of the team? Yeah. But
It's
also, uh,
very important that you
yes.
do it
So
entire.
Rhonda, tell us, how come by having a diversity, I'm talking about this, about women, particularly women, that, they are underfunded, all these tech projects, if you put boys, a bunch of uh, white boys, everybody give them millions, and then you have women of color, or with amazing projects, amazing ideas, and they cannot find the money. So tell us, and which it comes also to emotional intelligence, to a lot of things that you do, that you work on and you do research. So tell us a little bit more. How do you think that culture can actually, an emotional intelligence, which is something that will is like the glue to keep the culture together. What advice do you have for founders that they are starting the company and they're not taking seriously what we're talking about at the very beginning?
Well, you're speaking to the choir here because think about it. I am that underprivileged individual, but before we cast stones, we have to realize where it comes from. Historically, men were the ones that were allowed to, whether it be vote, handle the money, have bank accounts, own real estate.
Vote,
So
vote,
that had
vote. They were allowed to vote also before
they
women.
were they were, but women were in some areas of the world still aren't allowed. And so instead of casting the first stone, it takes women to work with men and help them understand their value. My sister told me one time, if you're in a meeting room with all men, do not make the coffee. And I was kind of confused by this advice early on in my life,
Wow,
right?
was very powerful statement.
Yes, it is
You're just trying to be nice, but she has a very powerful point.
yes,
It's a point.
you do. You're always delegated to make the coffee. Nothing wrong with making coffee. But what it does is it puts you in a supportive role versus an equal role.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
So what you have to do as a woman, and twice as much for anybody of any ethnic group that's trying to build their way up, is you have to realize the power that you have. And the power comes from your knowledge and preparation. And yes, you may have to work a little harder. And I've been in interviews before. I can remember one of my very first interviews for a sales position that I did not get. The guy said, well, why should I hire you? And I gave them this long list of reasons to hire me. And then he said, I'm not sure I'd want to hire you, but I might want to date you. So we have to realize our power comes from the fact that we have a stereotypical patriarchal world. And then when we understand that, then guess what? We have to learn how to navigate that word and prove our worth. I'm sorry, that does mean that maybe we have to work harder. But guess what?
We have to. There is no choice to work with the man. Look, at the end of the day, I'm gonna tell you two stories. Yeah, number one, my personal story when I built my own company. Yeah, I decided to hire women. Yeah, and I tell you why. It was because they were very assertive. They were telling me the truth, Women, when you don't want to go out with the men, you say, okay, why you don't want to go out with me? And they will say, oh, because you're ugly. I don't like you. Women will tell you directly the problem. This for business is amazing. So when I hired my managers and my sales team, they were mainly females. And I remember when the guests would give me headache, headache means, Harry, you need to look into this, you need to look into this. I knew that when the guests are telling me the same thing 2-3 times, I really need to look into this. It was something that need to be dealt with. But guess what happened? The girls fired me from my own company. I arrived one day to my company and the girl told me, Harry, you don't need to come to this company anymore. Go home. I'm like, what? And they were telling me, in fact, the only problem in this company is you. I'm like, what, me? And they sent me, they sent me and said, look, go holiday, stay at home. You don't need to come here anymore. We can run this without you. And this is how I make myself obsolete in my very first company, which was a roller coaster. I'm not telling you a long story short. But one of the biggest things that I did to make this happen, it was the most of my team were women. Now, I interviewed the Minister of Finance of Zimbabwe, I think 8 months ago, and this is what he told me. And he told me, Harry, we are doing, some loans in Zimbabwe because so the people can take this money and grow the vegetables and start a little bit of business, then get paid back the loans, and then they can borrow more money and they can grow a little bit more. And like this, we are trying to help the minority startups so people can have some meanings, right? So guess what happened? He told me that for everybody they're lending, they have like 80% of the women they're paying back the loans and asking for more loans and paying back better than men, So he was very happy. He told me that it's actually very profitable lend money to women. He's talking from the government point of view. He told that our experience in the program, what we realize is that, well, more women than men are actually paying back the loans and borrow more money and growing more vegetables, getting more than men because, of course, the women have kids, they have responsibilities, so they cannot take the money that the government give them and go and gamble with it. They have responsibilities, so they actually need to make the thing that they're trying to do work, so pay them loan back so they can ask for money again and to grow a little bit more. So, which it comes to show you that women have the same power of men. It's just that we know, John Gray, he wrote the book, Women Are for Venus and Men Are for Mars, I have the pleasure of meet him a few years ago, He has sold 50 million books, And he told me, Harry, we are different, Men and women, they're different. They have different needs, but one is not above the other one. We're just different. Yeah.
We just think different. We put value in something different. We see the
that doesn't mean that you're worth less. Yeah.
My dad used to say, you can tell the economy by the trucks on the road, what type, how many, that's going down the road. So next time you drive down a busy highway or something, look around. What trucks are on the roads? That tells you what's selling. That tells you who's shipping. That tells you if
it's very clever.
Yeah, very clever. I used to tell them, this tells you the difference between men and women in their thinking. But you can tell a person by how they treat the animals and the world.
Wow. Yeah.
So two different philosophies and approach to the worldview, to business, to life. Equally important, but different. Men think concretely about facts and thought. Women think more broad and use more of the empathetic view of what is the impact of those decisions when it comes to. Now, I think men are coming around, as we've been preaching for years now, not only for our own rights as women to work and own our own and have our businesses, because there was a time when those opportunities weren't there, and don't take it for granted. But women have been telling men, start looking around, look at that vision, which is step one. How are you going to be successful? Scan internally and learn the knowledge. Get to a point where you understand not only yourself, but others' emotions. And when you do that, you can make better decisions. It doesn't matter if it's a man or woman. We've been talking men or women, but it also talks about, it's about culture. People look at things. Like, for instance, I'm American, and we're raised very young. Individualism. What have you done? What have you done? We don't think in a we very often. We're like the talking heads that say, hey, I. Because that's all we think about is how does it affect me, I, mine. But guess what? When we put the we in it,
we live in a community. We are human beings.
And guess what? I bet you're more apt to tell me what's going on in your department if I'm saying we.
Absolutely, 100%. But then, Rhonda, now it comes a little bit deeper, because let's talk about social responsibility, because companies out there, they think, that because you saving, because you put in the plastic bottle in the right container and the paper in the other container, you're being social responsible, But social responsibility goes beyond that. It comes to give equal opportunity to the women. It comes to hire the people because they are the best for the job and the more qualified, regardless if they are black, Chinese, white, right?
Right.
And so we need a new future. We need a new planet. We need a new type of cultures and company, Because what happened with these companies, that they start all male dominated, or they are the buyers. What happens is when this company grows and they have the product out there, but then the consumer are all mixed race. The consumer are women and men, and then now the consumer are getting very savvy. It's not like before that you put a product there, people buy because you like it. It doesn't work like this anymore. Consumers are getting very savvy. And when they buy your product now, they want to know everything. They want to know what type of culture has the company. They want to know who are the people behind. They want to know how fair this company is with the employees. They want to know if this company have enough women in the direction, the C-level positions, or in the management. Consumers are becoming very, very savvy now, because these consumers, especially the young generation, this is the planet that they're gonna live. We are from different generation, at least me. I'm older than you, so I'm for the generation of the waste. From we overproduce and we waste everything.
And I think that, on the benefit of the older,
the pollution, that's my generation.
Yes,
and pollution.
And then you know what? We had more hunger in the developed countries prior to us doing this waste culture. So I did a whole journal on and research project on why we have large farmlands. And it was because the small farmlands, which is what we're going back to, because it's healthier for us, we had people that were going hungry and there wasn't enough food. So we went to this mass production. And I come from a family of manufacturers. My dad was a small manufacturer, steel, made it to a middle manufacturing company. So I know how to bend steel. I know how to paint line. I know how the paint line is heat. The paint is heated for steel. You had to work a press and all of that. And the importance of that. We don't want to say we can all be service. We still have to produce, but you're right. The waste has to be counted. And think of the money you're saving for your company. If nothing else, if you can't think of social responsibility for yourself, think about the bottom line dollar. When you come up with programs that has less steel waste, less oil waste, less fumes, less whatever it may be, you're saving yourself money. And it doesn't matter whether it could be a lawsuit later because people can't breathe around your plant, or if you've been
100%.
It's all of it. So that's part of that self-regulation. It's creating a sustainable model, and you got to go from the smallest to the largest. So you've got the most vulnerable in our population. You've got yourself. You've got your family. You've got your community. You've got your, your nation, your world. So self-regulation requires leaders to look at it all. If you don't, what are you going to do? You're not only going to deplete resources, are you managing your emotions enough that you're managing your resources? How many decisions are bad decisions because you didn't regulate your own emotions? You didn't listen to somebody. You didn't find out what your team was telling you. You didn't check the work. Sometimes your staff can be wrong. Because give you facts and numbers, are you checking them? Or are you, okay, great, let's do it his way or her way, whichever way, or I like them, so let's do it that way. Don't do it that way. Regulate those emotions, regulate those decisions, and make sure you have self-regulation. That's on anything. We can all be glutton on everything. The waste organization, we can buy 10 boxes of Twinkies, 12 Oreos, Reese's peanut butter cups, and throw them all in our kitchen and be able to eat them. But guess what? By the end of the day, you're going to have diabetes or be in a coma. So you have to, that self-regulation is applied to everything. That's one of the reasons why the UN Global Compact Committee was created, which is to create sustainable models for businesses, not only to thrive, but also make sure that they're creating a better future. And I love those young whippersnappers, as we would have called them in our day and age, because guess what? They get it. We may not like the attitude of the work that they come in with at first, but once you understand that they understand that there's more to life than just working, they get there's more dimensions in the world than just work and and home. In one of my next books that's coming out, it's a journey to life balance. I talk about the 13 dimensions that we have. Wow. We have to consider our spirituality, and I'm not talking religion. I'm talking about the connection, our integrity, our home, our finances, which is very important because guess what? Girls still like diamonds. That has not gone out the door. We can buy them ourselves now.
100%, yeah, exactly. You can produce your own economy and buy yourself. So, Rhonda, tell us about your books.
Sure. So I have kind of a different model. So I start out with a fiction model, a fiction book first. And so this
Oh.
one's called Crossroads. It's based out of Indianapolis. It's about a finance executive that gets called to jury duty, and she's a workaholic and tries to get out of it but can't. It's kind of like a Grisham or a Agatha Christie kind of feel, but
Oh.
it's endorsed by Meryl Hemingway, the Academy Award-winning actress and granddaughter of Ernest Hemingway, the famous author. And what I did in this book is I wanted to gather people's motivations and their thoughts through entertainment, but it's really talking about life balance. Are we balanced? Are things happening in our lives because we're not balancing our lives? And then what's coming out around Christmas time is, and this is the cover, is a journey to life balance. It's a workbook approach. And basically what it does is it takes the characters in Crossroads and says, okay, they're all out of balance, and makes them a case study and works you through your issues as an individual. What are you doing right and what are you doing wrong? When we set goals, many a times what we do is we set them on finance, career, and, you know, maybe relationships, but we don't do the 13 dimensions. And so I set a practice, and I've done it for years with myself, where I try to take a break, and then I do my own workbook, and I say, okay, what am I doing now? Am I satisfied? Am I getting a real, momentum and inspiration in my life? And as I go through it, I find out I'm completely out of balance and not doing anything that I said that I'd like to do in my life. And then I get myself realigned to my own vision and mission, because that was like one of the 5 steps, if you remember. Are you aligned? Well, that means you have to be aligned with yourself too. Are you practicing what you really believe in? You can't have any happiness if you're not, so that one will be out about Christmas. And then after that, there'll be a book that the working title is called Chosen, and it works on just what
you have one book after the other one, Rhonda.
It's another fiction, and this one's about a young woman that takes one of the characters in Crossroads and pulls them all out and lets you see her life. And in that one, it talks about how, as a society, we teach ourselves to be victims. You ever heard of the thought, you have a victim mentality?
Yeah.
Well, what happens to these people? So you get to follow her through her life and find out what happens to her. And then there'll be a self-help book on how to prevent it and for yourself. My goal for everybody, any of my clients, for you, and thank you for having me, everybody out there. This is a great podcast. Make sure you like, share, and follow, because anytime you can get tips on how to make yourself better, greater, more money, make your first million.
Mm-hmm.
Through the 5 steps that I've given you, that get you started. The 5 steps that the next person gives you will get you going, and then you can build and build, build. And guess what? In the end, not only do you have an emotional intelligence model that you can practice, but you have a resource that when you get stuck in a rut, you can come out of that rut and be shiny as the next, bowl of cherries, because we want that for you. And knowing that we all get to that place sometimes that we have to we're trying to achieve our own personal goals and aspirations, and we think, oh my goodness, I'm tired. Mm-hmm. What do I do next? Feeling fulfilled requires you to be aligned with resources that can fill you back up.
Absolutely. And then, Rhonda, let's talk about work-life balance, because I don't think with entrepreneurs, they're not taking this seriously enough. And then what's happening is that they're building the company, they're growing the company, and then they're unhappy.
Right.
They don't have fulfillment, they're unfulfilled. And guess what happened? They make $1 million, then they lose it.
Right.
and nobody understand what just happened, right? And we see that a lot in the entrepreneurs, because, and it's normal for, I mean, it's normal. When I started my first business, I was working my property business. We managed to save 5 million, but at the beginning, before I started to hire my team of girls that that made the company successful, and they literally told me that I wasn't needed anymore. The first 2 years, I didn't want to hire anybody, so I was doing everything myself. So there is no time for gym. There was no time for look after my head. There was no time for eating properly. I'm still a bit chubby out of this consequence. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So your body take a hit, and if you don't give an importance to have this work-life balance, even when you're building a company as an startup, as a founder, you're making your process really, really difficult, and it might leave you a scar in your mental health in building that process in that way. That that is very. You have to work a lot on yourself in order to clear this up, because it's like, even me, I was, after 2 years, I remember going to Piccadilly Circus once, and I'm like, wow, I haven't been in this place in 2 years, and it's so close to my house. That how immersed I was in building that business by myself, wearing all the hats. But I was not paying attention to my mental health. I was not paying attention to go out on the weekend. I was not paying attention. I didn't have time to date anybody. That was how it got built, this business. So
Mm.
all in my relationship, the time that I spent with my family, everybody, it took a hit in all the areas of my life. Yeah. So,
Right.
but guess what happened? After 2 years, I started to hide the girls. The girls um, told me to go home, and then now I kind of spend as a lot of time with my family, a lot of time with the people that I love. More than like a regular person. So I think that the life of an entrepreneur is not straight. However, you have to touch this base in this work-life balance, because it's more holistic, it's healthier, and you can actually enjoy the process of building your company, right?
Mhm.
When you're doing it this way, sometimes you go at home to sleep, and all you're thinking is this really worth it? This is the life that I want to have, because at the end of the day, you're exhausted. So tell us a little bit more about work-life balance. What inspired you to write this book?
That reason right there. I was starting my new career. The first time I did the work life balance book, I did it through other people's work. I went to the bookstore to find self-help books. I was going to take 2 weeks off. I'd been trying to build my career. I was going to take a long trip to the West Coast and drive and try to recreate everything. So I ended up with 5 or 6 books that I had to combine together to do what I thought was needed to become more balanced. And so then I started thinking, well, when I work with my students and my clients, I would like them to kind of understand, okay, what's the goal here? Let's create it in imagery and visually. What house do you want to buy when you get there? What's the process? What's your building look like? What's your office look like? And then design it, and then say, okay, where are all the other things? And then we create this life balance. And the importance of life balance is, like you said, as an entrepreneur, you feel many times like you're on an island by yourself. You might as well have been Tom Hanks on the island talking to the coconut that you created, or the basketball, or whatever it was, and that was his companion, because that's how your life is, especially at the beginning of being an entrepreneur. You're by yourself. Even if you have a family, you're by yourself. And you have to decide first, while you're in that process, how are you still going to enjoy life? It could be something as easy as opening up blinds and looking outside. It could be taking your 20-minute break and getting your 1 mile in because you required, to be healthy, to get 10,000 steps according to the CDC, right? A day. So whatever it might be, it could be taking your phone outside, putting your headsets on and walking while you're returning all your calls. But whatever it is, make your life enjoyable. It could be sitting down and you realize you've been too busy and stepping next to your loved one and giving them the reason why you love them. Not that just the words, I love you, but maybe it's, I love you because you're loyal, you're supportive, and you're putting up with my crap. And whatever it may be, make them feel just as special and understanding the fact that, you know what, this may be your vision, but you still have to be aligned with those around you. That's that fifth step. If you remember the social connection, making sure that you stay networking and then use your resources as an entrepreneurial person that has been in that lifeboat by herself. One, you have to watch your money and you have to use technology wisely, and you have to make sure that you're always watching your bottom line, especially at the beginning. You can't just keep on shelling out money, which means you might have to do a few, but hire the best of the best when you get there. Find someone you can trust. I've made some bad hiring decisions before, and everybody has. But make sure you're finding someone that's aligned with you, believes in you, and that isn't going to walk at every whim. Like you said, hire your women.
Rhonda, so if people are in love with what we're talking about and they want to learn more from you, how they can find you, how the process works?
Well, it's very easy. I put everything under my name. RhondaParkerTaylor.com is the website. All my social media is that. You can get the links for the intelligent solutions and my consulting at any time. But just follow me, RhondaParkerTaylor.com. You can get Crossroads on Amazon. You can also, most Barnes & Nobles have it. If they don't have it in the store, they can order it. And if you're in the Midwest and the Indiana area, most of the Barnes & Nobles in Indiana and Illinois have signed copies for the holidays.
Wow. Yeah. So, Rhonda, that's been amazing. And I think that we need more women entrepreneurs talking about like you described, emotional intelligence, work-life balance, and what would be the role of the women in this new society that we are building, where we have AI, artificial intelligence, and now, if you have man and boys teaching these computers, they're writing the software, but this software is like a child, is learning. So if you're teaching good things, it's gonna learn good things. But if you're teaching bad things, it's gonna learn bad things. So with the new society that is evolving, with technology, there is also we have to fight. So this bias behavior that we have against women, against minorities, to don't move from the way that we are now to move into the way that technology is evolving. So and yesterday we were having dinner with the son of Muhammad Ali, boxer, and he's visiting here in UK. He's coming back to US next week. And he was describing to us that his foundation is doing a lot of work to try to find the cure for Parkinson. And he find out that people of color hasn't been, they have been part of the trials for the cure of Parkinson. Not either in UK, not even in US also. So this is the world that we are living now. Yeah. So are you trying to find the cure for certain type of people, or are you trying to find the cure for everybody? You know what I mean? So
And you consider that because, all of our DNA is different, but it's important to know how we react, and our genetic makeup, because of the way we've eaten, where we've lived in the world, all of these things are different. So it's very important, and in health, disparity is prevalent, and if we don't use wisely what we know to be true, then we're missing the opportunity.
100%, 100%. So we need more leaders, Rhonda. We need more leaders like you to speak up. So keep going to podcasts and keep sharing your message. And for the rest of you following the Unstoppable podcast, see you in our next episode. How brave entrepreneurs like Rhonda break that wall and achieve the first million. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.